Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought we would do the mechanics portion of the past of the devs, but also add in the helicopters, because the helicopter stuff is pretty simple. There are two additions, the BAE Mi-24D, which will go in, and then another camouflage for a Japanese vehicle pushed forward by a suggestion mod themselves. So I'm not going to cover that, but if you want to go see it, you can. Not really interested in doing the same thing for the fifth or sixth time in a row, where people are just passing their own stuff because they want to see more weird stuff in the game. Let's get into the stuff which is mechanically, I suppose, focused out of the past devs, and cover the Hind as well. The first one is the BAE Mi-24 Hind D. When the Soviet Union collapsed, a large number of countries became populated with large amounts of Soviet equipment, most of which needed upgrading. An area which was of particular interest to Western defense companies were the former Warsaw Pact nations in Eastern Europe, which recently decided to join NATO, these being Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Romania, Hungary, and also Bulgaria. These nations all had large amounts of Soviet-style equipment left over, a lot of which needed to be integrated into NATO by one means or another, or else face scrapping or replacement. Since the organization's founding in 1949, there was always a push for commonality between the countries in order to enhance the effectiveness of the fighting forces by simplifying logistics. The addition of a wide variety of Soviet-designed aircraft, AFVs, and ships to the order of battle, many of which went completely against NATO standard designs, doctrine, and tactics, would only confuse matters. To add to these issues, many of the countries could not afford to replace their old equipment due to the economic woes of the time. In order to mitigate both problems, Western defense corporations quickly began development of upgrade programs for Soviet-designed equipment. Many upgrades were put forward for a wide variety of tanks, jets, and helicopters in order to make them compatible with NATO standards and/or enhance their fighting capability. The suggestion we're having a look at today is one of those, a British upgrade package for the MIL Mi-24 Hind. It may come as a surprise to think that the British BAE specifically would consider upgrading the Hind. However, Western upgrades to the Hind are relatively common, with the French company Segem and Israel's Elbit offering upgrades and South Africa's ATE offering the significantly modified Super Hind, but to mention a few. Therefore, it's unsurprising that BAE got involved in a Hind upgrade. The company was expecting a sizable order from the Visegrad group of nations, who formerly formed part of the now-collapsed Warsaw Pact. In addition to this, the upgrade program was also tendered to other nations, with Bulgaria and Croatia taking on interest at some point. The project seemed to have been announced in late 2001 with a mock-up displayed at Helitech that year. Negotiations and developments went on between 2003 and 2002, and despite the prospects, the project seemed to have come to an end by 2004. This is due to shifting priorities, delays and reduced orders, and also, for instance, Poland reduced its order, and other countries reducing their orders as well, or choosing other development partners instead. Of note is the convoluted nature of the project, with many different articles stating different things about the helicopter. This may be due to a number of reasons. To begin with, the project may have been incomplete, with certain aspects stated by the manufacturer not being added to the prototype, which itself never flew, and acted more of a testbed for possible upgrades. Finally, it's likely that the customizable nature of the helicopter, meaning that different countries could order different weapons and electronic upgrades to suit their needs, leading to a rather large variety of possible armaments for this specific helicopter. As much as it would be nice to go through them all and work out which one is the proper upgrade, it's pretty hard to do. According to Janes, the helicopter was a Hind D purchased by non-flying condition. The company offered a wide-ranging upgrade and life extension program, though countries could mix and match what they wanted in regards of electronics and weapons, as mentioned before. BAE proposed giving the helicopter CDU-900 multifunction control and display units, This was in addition to an AN-ARC-220HF and also Talon V UHF transceivers, as well as the AN-ARN-153 Tacan and AN-ARN-155 multi-mode receiver as an upgrade to the navigation equipment. In regards to the defense suite, the helicopter would be fitted with the HIDAS defense suite, as fitted to the Apache H-1 in British service. The center of the entire upgrade was the Titan 385 multi-sensor turret, which included a laser rangefinder, infrared surveillance camera, and color and low-light television cameras. This replaced the Raduga FSH, finally the HGU-56P helmet, and ANAVS-7 heads-up display. Changes to the crew stations allowed the gunner to receive more tactical information, thus allowing to take some workload off the pilot, reducing stress, making the crew's job more efficient. BAE's upgrade to the Hind would have made it compatible with NATO weapon systems, as well as allowing it to use older Soviet types. The type was able to use the standard armaments for the Hind D. In addition to this, the type was meant to use new anti-tank missiles, these being the HOT and also Spike ER, the former offered by BAE, and the latter being requested by Poland. Slovakia also requested for the integration of the Attacker missile from Russia. The type retained the 12.7mm gun, though the Otobreda M197 3-barrel 20mm cannon was also put forward. The CRV-7 rocket also seems to have been put forward, and according to Janes, the usage of NATO weaponry would have featured weight saving up to 200 kilos, though this would have reduced if used Soviet-made weapons. We have another article which was passed before. This is the Wham Bam Decal, and basically it was on a P-40N. It was on a Dutch P-40N, which was flown by Sergeant G. van Alphen, and it was part of the Dutch and Australian 120th Squadron, which flew from January 1944 all the way until September 1944. And on the 19th of September 1944, the aircraft was lost when Alphen lost consciousness after his oxygen mask had come loose during a practice scramble. So his aircraft actually collided with another P-40 of a fellow squadron member, Haikoop, who used his parachute and survived, but Alphen sadly did not survive the accident. So an unfortunate, tragic end, and not even down to military actions. There's also an idea to change the unstoppable wager to more include naval players. Basically, right now, when it comes to the unstoppable wager, it is labeled you have to achieve one from Hero of the Sky, Terror of the Sky, Thunderer, Antimech, Heavy Metal Hero, Heavy Metal Fury, Tsunami, and also Rogue Wave. The two things which kind of include naval vehicles are, of course, Tsunami and Rogue Wave, but in naval maps you pretty much have 0 AI units in Naval Arcade and Naval Realistic, and killing the bots on the enemy team don't count for this. So therefore, if you use this wager in naval, most of the games you have 0% chance of success of the wager itself. So the suggestion is to include 2-player kill objectives, Terror of the Ocean, and also Terror of the Sea, just like you have Heavy Metal Hero and also Heavy Metal Fury. It would make sense to add these in to be able to be open to naval players. We have another idea which has been suggested before, and it is a beginning of the match spawn point numbers. So basically, depending on where people want to spawn and where they have clicked to spawn, it will tell you on the map how many people are spawning in that area. So therefore, you can work out how many people are going to the left or going to the right of a map, and you can make a choice accordingly if you want to fit around your team or if you want to try and hold an area which you know your team is going to miss. Generally a pretty decent idea, but also, as I said, one that has been suggested previously quite a long time ago. The next one is about torpedo spotting and also mine marking in naval. In a standard RB match, communication is perhaps one of the key ways to give your team an advantage over the opposition. While the text chat is present, the experience reveals that most players chose not to use it, and roughly 1 in 10 or 20 matches you find an active communication happen between players. Of course, there is an issue with the language barrier even if they do speak. More of the issues is probably because the vast majority of people in naval RB maps are actually bots, so they're not going to talk to you. To compensate, the players will use other game mechanics to convey their needs to their allies. For our BAE, it would be the voice commands that allow to ease of coordinated targeting and requesting assistance. In ground RB, it's the attention to map marker as well as a scouting mechanic present on some tanks. But in naval, there are no benefits, even for those that want to offer teamwork without using the chat, especially on combat vital information such as torpedo or mine sightings. Even if you do type out your heads up to an ally, it might be too late, and they don't know how to handle the information in a timely manner in the case of torpedoes, and in case of mines, the information on its location will be lost to everyone given enough time. The solution to this is all vehicles participating in Naval RB. Not sure how useful it would be in arcade, as the detection range is longer. The battle would have a spot option to be assigned to their keybinds. So to use it, you would have to aim your camera, whether it be the cannon's aim or free cam, at the torpedo or mines and hit the spot button. To prevent people from just spamming the key to detect torps and mines across the map, perhaps there's a range to such ability, say 3,000 meters from the ship/planes. For torpedoes, this will act a lot like the spotting mechanic in tanks, where the selected torpedoes will be visible to friendly players and the map for a given amount of time, maybe 20 seconds, and for mines, this will play differently due to the more static nature of the weapon. Once spotted, the mine marker will be marked only for a map permanently until something blows up or despawns. It is on the map only to prevent the mines icon from cluttering the screen, which seems pretty fair. So, those are all the suggestions past the developers for the mechanics, at least, of the month. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Juan the Panda, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Bareen, Peter Grayling, Alan Hacker, Sem Alslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R., and also Lafouche for supporting the channel.